DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Yes, we are here for episode number 2 of our second show for the 12 DJ Gifts of Christmas.
Who does number 2 work for?
Oh, that could be so bad in so many ways.
I'm number 2. I try harder.
You are number 2. That is right. So Brown is... Mitch Taylor's with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about sales, and basically I'm going to throw out kind of a situation that a lot of you run into, and I wanted Mitch to really elaborate, because a lot of you have had this type of situation happen to you in the sales process, and it's like, who's the guy to talk about this and help dissect it and find out what we're doing wrong and maybe give us some suggestions, but Mitch is the man. Then... at the end, we've got our drawing. We're going to be giving away the DJNTV pack tonight with the hats and such, and then we'll also have one of you in the chat room on YouTube. Now, if you're watching it on Facebook, I put the link for the YouTube in the comments area, so you can pop out, but we're going to be doing it from the people in the chat room here towards the end of the show, so you'll want to jump out there to be part of that, so you can have a chance to win one of our hats, which we have 2 different hats you can choose from. We have the...
I thought we had leather jackets.
Yeah, you and Ron could talk about leather jacket. We've got this is what we're giving away for the chat room tonight. We've got the white on black, and we've got the black on black. So, and these are the hats that look like they're fitted. There's 2 different sizes. There's the
black on black looks sexy to me.
Yeah, they do. I've actually, that's what I think I've got you down for, Mitch. I figured you'd like that. So. Yours is on. Yes, you're getting. I've got to send out the hats and T-shirts for all the DJNTV folks, and I've been waiting for them to come in. So those are headed out. But I've also got hats for you guys out there who are watching. So some of you will be winning these over the next 10 days. The holiday giveaway link doesn't work. It should work. Maybe I didn't. Disc jockey, maybe I didn't spell it right. DocuNews.com/holidays. That link should work. And I'm just going to click it myself and make sure that it works. And it should pop up, and it's going to... Well, why is it not... No, it's not saying... It's saying the page isn't... Okay, why is it not finding the page? Well, we're going to check this out while we're... while the show's going here. I don't think the page got deleted.
Oh, good. So whatever you got to do.
So I'm going to work on that, Mitch, but I'm going to get you started in this a little bit. Now, what I wanted to kind of have you talk about is that there's times where DJs are meeting with a person, and they've come and they've found out through the conversation that the things that the couple are looking for, that basically we are the providers that are going to be just a match made in heaven. And that we're going to be able to offer them these different things. And in essence, we are the DJ for their event. We'd be the perfect fit. And then we get to the point where they're like, okay, how much? And then we start, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's way out of my budget. I mean, our good friend Brian Harris, I've heard him talk about this numerous times, that he's had just beautiful conversations with folks, and he's like, this is we're connecting here. And then they get to the price side, and they just can't afford. And I want you to take it from there now, and kind of help us to understand a little bit about what we can do when we get to that point.
So I think the biggest thing, and of course, hindsight is 20/20 on anything, right? But one of the biggest things is if you give them a price up front, or at least a starting price up front. This way they can't be blown out of the water when they come in and actually meet with you. So in all of our responses now that we have certain responses we run through my system for tailored weddings and everything is, starting with a range or starting with that starting price, if you will, to give them an idea that, at least a ballpark of where we're at. And let's hope we're in the same ballpark. And then, if that's not the case, then we have to go back and go up and decide, okay, is this really a client for us or not? It's funny. I actually just presented this on the Mobile Beat and Photo Booth Expo cruise, my seminar called "Handling the How Much Email," and that really dovetails into this from that standpoint of a bride saying, "Listen, I just want a price. I only want DJ. Tell me what you got, and that's it." Mm-hmm. And you're taking it a step further, John, from that standpoint, and going into the actual meeting with the bride. And I think at that point, I go back to something that Jake Palmer, fellow disc jockey news writer, said years ago, at least 3 or 4 years ago anyway. And I wish to this day I'd said it, because I'm like, this is gold.
And Jake Palmer, coming from Jake Palmer, now this would be an interesting quote here that you're going to give us.
I'm telling you right now, this is one of the best sales quotes I've ever heard, and I've heard a lot. But Jake absolutely nailed it, and his statement was, "It's not a confrontation, it's a conversation."
Oh yeah, yep.
And when he said that, I'm like, dude, you wrote that down. I'm like, give credit where credit is due. Jake knocked out of the park with that, and it's so true, because at that point you're thinking, man, I'm the guy, like I'm the one they gotta have me. And then you get to the point, okay, my price is this. And they're like, whoa, what the? Because you haven't set the stage. You have to set the stage in advance and give them at least a starting price or a ballpark, in my opinion, before they even come in. If you do that, then you're not going to have as much of that adversarial at the end kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You also can get clues throughout the process. So if you find out where they're at for a venue, for example, and not that I want to bash any venues or anything else, that's not the point. Okay, it's not the point. But just in conversation, oh, you're at X venue, cool, awesome. And they have a great buffet or they have a great meal and their staff is awesome. They're always quick on the lighting when I need it turned down for dances. They're always quick with the cake, getting things in and out, whatever the case may be. You obviously want to praise them, but in your head that they're spending X amount of money, whatever that per plate is, right? And so if they get in the conversation, sometimes you can go back and say, yeah, I totally get that. It's a great venue. And you're spending, $25 a plate for food at that venue and having 200 people, that's $4,500 for 1 hour of your entire night. Where we're taking responsibility for the whole thing for much less than that price point.
Right.
And so this again, you don't want to beat up other vendors. That's not my point. But when you can show how much you have for responsibility versus what they have, and of course the venue is obviously the place setting as well, and that's very important. The setting of the backdrop, if you will, of the entire night's events. So it's not just the meal, but we get the point, right? Of being able to draw a comparison a little bit and show how your value compares to what someone else is bringing to the table as well. So the first thing would be you want to tend to at least set the stage a little bit and give them an idea before they walk in the door, before they're just blown away. In most cases, some of your clients will actually have an idea before they even walk in the door too. If they've checked out you ahead of time, if they've done some pre-qual, if they've called their friends that have hired you, whatever they found you from for a lead source, right? That may also give them an inkling of what your price point is and what you offer, and may even be the ultimate reason why they've contacted you. So I would just encourage you to, you get that match made in heaven, but all of a sudden it's way out of the budget. Go back and qualify again. Well, you said you wanted this. Have you seen anyone else that can do that for that? And continue the conversation. As Jake said, it's a conversation, not a confrontation. So I think just continuing the conversation with them at that point. Because if you don't know how to overcome objections, if you don't know how to continue the conversation, then you're dead in the water.
Right.
And it doesn't matter at that point where you go from there. And sometimes I'll also just, reason with them. And I've said to my couples, listen, if you're spending, whatever the price point is, and I don't want to talk a whole lot of numbers here. We start at $1,500. That's where we start. But if someone says, oh, $1,500 for a DJ, you're nuts, or $2,000 for a DJ, you're nuts. I'm like, yeah, you're right. If you're spending $2,000 for just a DJ, you're nuts. So I'm going to push play and make announcements that you're nuts. If you're spending that kind of money for someone to take responsibility for the success of your event and to make sure everyone knows what's happening when, and tie an emotional connection from your guests to what's happening, that's worth a lot more.
Right.
And so I guess you got to clarify and clarify what it is they are asking you to do. Because some couples may just think, all I need is a DJ.
Yeah.
Right?
So
clarify what it is they want you to do. Qualify them with what you offer. Is that a match? And then be able to produce it. Quantify the results by what you can bring to the table with what past couples have said about your services. So clarify, qualify, quantify. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it definitely does.
I just made that up. No.
And now the sign. Yes, for those of you wondering,
my wife got this for promotions. This is not me, by the way. This is just kind of a running joke.
Yep,
John
yeah. Yes, she's letting him borrow it until she gets back.
Yeah, I just able to borrow it tonight. And she has to put it back on her desk. So anyway, that's my explanation for how to handle that. Is give them an idea up front of what the pricing is. They should have some sort of clue.
So let's kind of just start there, and let's dig into that. Sure. Now, how would we, as in this day and age, the kind of buying process for a lot of millennial brides is they're going to look online, they're going to go to check out our Facebook page, they're probably going to go to our website and look at that a little bit, and then they're going to contact us in one way, shape, or form in their favorite method, whether it's text or email or filling out a request.
Facebook Messenger, whatever.
Messenger is probably the one that gets most. Where do we start to qualify them when it comes to giving them an idea of what our rates are so we don't have that major sticker shock once we sit down with them?
Well, I think it goes even further back. And from this again, we talked about in seminar on the Mobile Beat Cruise was you actually researching your clients. Search is for the first step in the sales process in my book. So when you get that inquiry come in, whether it's Facebook Messenger, whether it's an email, whether it's a request for information on your website, whatever it is, you've got some information there to start with. And on the example I show in the seminar, it's actually a bride who lives out of state. She has a downstate Michigan phone number, and she has a Hotmail email address. And so I'm looking at all of these things, and I'm saying to myself, but her ending thing, please send me information on pricing. Right? That's her ending sentence. How often do we get that? I mean, all the time. So instead of just focusing on, please send me information on pricing, which is what we tend to do. We focus on the last thing we see, right? That's the last thing we see. It's like, oh, seriously?
There it is again.
And, but go back and look. Know who your ideal client is. So in our case, for our company, our ideal client is a bride who has moved away, experienced some of the finer things in life, is coming back to our area to have her wedding reception, and doesn't want the same old cheesy DJ she's seen in the past. So if I go back and look at her information, I can see that she has a Hotmail email address. That probably means it's the one she's had established and uses forever. Probably means she's a little bit older. Nothing wrong with that. Again, does that fit our demographic of our ideal client? And she hasn't just made up an email like Tim and Tony's wedding or Tim and Tony's wedding at gmail.com. You know what I mean? It's not a made up email just for the wedding, which she's going to just filter out as spam and you'll be done, So she gave you a real email address. She lives downstate, so it shows that she's part of my ideal client. She's moved away, right? She has a downstate phone number. Now she has a Wisconsin address. So she lives out of state. So those are all clues that even though what she's saying is, please send me information on pricing. that I've got clues that it's an ideal client.
Yeah.
So I can't focus on the negative. I got to look at what I'm being given for other information. And so at that point, then contact her back. And I'm very polite at that point. Our pricing starts at $200 and ranges up to $6,500. And I state, depending on the services you want and outcome you want for your reception. So there's two caveats there. It's not just $1,500 for a DJ or $1,200 for a DJ or whatever your number is. Doesn't matter what the number is. But you're putting the outcome in there as well to show there is something different. Okay?
Sure.
And because at that point, I'm putting a range in there, $200 to $6,500. That's a huge range. Huge range. $200 would be just for minister services for us. Because she hasn't told me yet what she wants. Like, I didn't know she just wanted music, or she wanted minister or lighting or photo booth. I don't know what she wants at this point. And so from there, we took it from there, and she said, well, right now I just want pricing on DJ. Can you please send me that? Or something to that effect. I'm
sure.
Paraphrasing a little bit. And then my email back to her was, pricing starts at $1,500 for quite a bit more than you might expect from a DJ service. So I gave her a price, and please at that point, don't be the DJ who gives them, if they already gave you a date, don't give them your Thursday 1:00 p.m. rate. Don't do that, because then you're going to upset them. I almost said another word. You're going to upset them when you go back and get to a real rate for them later. It's like, well, no, you told me I could have this one. You can't do that. So give them a real rate at that point of what you would go out for that night, for that event, whatever it might be, and go from there. But notice how I position that as well as a contrast again. Services you want, outcome you want. $1,500 for quite a bit more than you might expect. Okay, so we're setting a little difference here of what she's looking at.
Sure.
And then finally, I'm a huge fan of Alan Berg as well. I try to always give credit where credit is due, where I learn things. And Alan, I learned this from Alan a while back, but Alan talked about always ending with a question to continue the conversation, right? And so the question after that statement was, would you like to know more about what you get for your money? That's a yes or no question.
Yep.
But now I've gone through 2 emails with her back and forth. Now at this point, I've already given you a price, basically saying, is that in your budget? And would you like to know more?
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting any comments in the chat?
They're busy chatting about some other things here.
Okay. So not paying attention to me. Great.
Yeah, well, no, they're listening because every once in a while they might make reference to it, but they're, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? That kind of stuff. So
got it. Okay. So I think from that point, again, it's about getting permission to continue the conversation and see if she wants to know more. I mean, how often as DJs, or have you seen DJs, and I've seen it a lot, where you just start to just puke information on the first email? And to me, that's a sure sign of, what does that mean if you're puking everything you know about your company on the first email? You're not listening.
For sure.
You're not answering her question. And if you're not answering her question, delete, next. So I think you have to get a conversation going and then keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And so in this case, I pretty much had the full sales meeting on this one by email.
And I think I don't think that's going to be unusual. I mean, probably the only unusual thing, that Messenger wasn't involved in one way, shape, or form.
But I asked permission first before I puked.
Do you mind if I puke on you?
I asked permission. Well, because I said, would you like to know more about what you get for your money?
Yeah. Well, I
get you. Permission. Then share with her everything. And the steps that we talked about in the seminar from there, about what you share and how you share it and all those kind of things. I don't know how deep you want to get here tonight. But.
Well, I want to kind of bridge a little, or change course just a hair a bit now. We know we're the DJ for her. price. She's past the sticker shock of the price. Now, how do we help her to understand or visualize that and get her in her mind that we are the DJ for her? And granted, there's going to be a level of trust and such that we have to build, but how do we move it from her thinking we're just another DJ to we are the DJ for her wedding?
You have to solve something for her. You have to paint the picture of you not just performing at her event, but what is going to be her outcome with you at the helm of her party, and only you at the helm. And Mark Farrell said that back in Getting What You're Worth, but with you at the helm of their party. And so from that standpoint, what can you provide for a solution? What problem is she having in that moment that you can provide a solution for? So oftentimes and this is part of the brainstorm or the learn and explain phase, if you will, the sales process in the book. So when you're talking about the explain phase, in your learn phase beforehand, you're learning what some of her challenges might be. And oftentimes a client may have champagne tasting beer budget, but you're learning what some of those challenges might be. And then you're racking your brain, you're going back through all of your extensive knowledge and experience in this business to figure out, okay, what can I share with her? Maybe it's a video, maybe it's just a story, maybe it's a picture, maybe it's a past evaluation, whatever it might be that will show her that, hey, we can do this for you. And that's the proof. Because a story is great, but you better be a damn good storyteller to pull it off versus just, oh, this one time I saw some guy do this. But if you can get into the details and really explain it, this is where, storytelling, and again, being a great storyteller is a discipline I know that Mark teaches, and it's something that I think we all can improve upon. If you take any sort of Toastmasters course and you really work on, speeches and improv, that can also help you from a storytelling standpoint. But when you can tell a story and share it with heart and passion, that will sell it for you as well, of how you overcome an obstacle for them.
When you're talking about telling a story, are you putting together kind of a made-up story that you're creating a situation for her with
Not
her situation?
Made up. No, I'm saying you draw upon your past
experiences, okay?
Of a story that, definitely not made up, in my opinion, okay? You could, but I would not. I would go based upon, if you've been doing this in the game for any length of time, I'm sure you have stories of some kind, of some challenge you've helped overcome for a client, for a fellow event pro, whatever it might be, and share that. Even the standpoint of, I talked about once a bride who, from the coordinating standpoint of things, a bride of mine whose florist somehow thought the wedding was on Saturday, May 16th. The wedding was on Friday, May 15th. And the photographer and I realized that there was no flowers at the wedding reception early enough in the day, so we were able to pull it off and get flowers there in a timely manner. And call the florist and make sure that they had, I thought it, they literally threw the flowers together that they had, unfortunately, and pull it off. I had just this past year, we had a photographer, a friend of the bride, who was broke down in Chicago and couldn't get back to shoot her wedding at literally at 6:15 in the morning. I'm lying in bed on my phone, and I get the text, and I saw it, and I immediately message one of my photographer friends on Facebook because I saw her green light on. And so I messaged her and worked it out. And an hour later, they had a photographer.
Wow.
And, the couple was happy. They were ecstatic that I was able to help them cover it. So again, when you share that you're a resource, that you can help solve some of these problems, even from the standpoint of, maybe it's a mom that's not doing so well. And how have you handled that before in the past? Maybe it's, a dad who, and I've had these where the father of the bride and the bride don't get along very well, or they haven't been that close. I had one of those 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. What the bride told me, the biggest thing she wanted out of her wedding, and asked this question: what do you want to get out of your wedding day? What's the biggest moment for you besides your vows? Obviously, your ceremony is absolutely the biggest moment of the day. Mm-hmm. But what other moments are big for you? ask those kind of questions, dialogue with them, have that conversation, keep it going. And one of the things she told me was that her dad drank a lot. Her dad was a trucker. He was gone a lot. And the biggest thing she wanted to get was her father to look at her and just be proud of the woman that she became.
Oh boy.
That's pressure.
Yeah.
You're the guy that's charged with making sure that that's how dad feels about his daughter in that moment, that night.
Wow.
You're overcoming 20 years of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough.
Oh, and not knowing if dad, who's maybe had 4 or 5 or 10 cocktails before that moment, now how do you put that into?
So I basically pulled that aside early in the night, and we had a conversation. And I honestly don't know, John, if I fully got through to him or not, if he fully understood the levity of that moment. Because some people are just too lost in their own thing, without thinking of other people and how they're affected, But when I talked to Laura, my bride, afterwards, she was very happy with the moment, how we set it up, and how we delivered the father-daughter dance for her. And you could see tears in her father's eyes in that moment. So I know emotionally, either myself or the moment got to him.
Sure.
One of the two. And, as long as she was happy, I was happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, have the conversation with them. And when you move forward from that, you talked about, how do you solve that problem, or how do you make sure that you show you're the only way to do it? I think it's just by sharing, what's that specific challenge she has, and then how can you overcome it? And how can you, have her understand that this is what she wants to get out of this, and you have a solution for her. You can help her. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what do you want people to say about your wedding reception as they're driving home? And I think asking that question really gets to the heart of the outcome.
For sure.
I know Jeffrey Gittimer added to that this past Mobile Beat, which I loved it when I talked to Jeffrey too on our podcast, was not only what do you want people to say, but what do you want people to post on social? Because, we live in Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook world. Brides can be vain.
Oh, very much so.
So can DJs, for that matter.
Really?
No. That's our biggest problem in our industry, in my opinion. Ego.
Just a touch there.
Did we get the link working?
The link works. They have to just they have to copy, or they have to just go type it in discjockeynews.com/holidays. For some reason, you click from the YouTube when we put the link there.
Doesn't work.
No, it's all looks like it's right in URL line, but it's not working, and I don't.
All right, so use the link discjockeynews.com/holidays,
and that will get you there. Yeah.
You entered into the drawing, I do believe.
Yeah, that's what. We had a couple of people who are struggling with the situations where they get the cold lead, or the lead from a lead service, Wedding Wire, The Knot, what have you. Okay. And they're they're getting to how much and such. That's how do you handle the tire kickers is one paraphrased it.
Okay.
Or phrased it.
So tire kickers, I think it's a case of you got to throw the curveball. You got to give them a change of pace, because they're getting quotes, they're getting information from everyone. Well, we have 2 DJs, full sound and lights, 6 hours for X. How many emails like that are they getting?
A lot.
So
Most.
If you just focus on and send them an email back, we have rates starting at X and going up to X, depending on the services you want and outcome you want for your day. What are you struggling with most? How can I help you best? Or what's your, what have you seen you've liked or disliked from entertainers? Or what do you want your guests to say as they're driving home from your event? What if I could guarantee you that's exactly what your guests would say about your wedding? With entertainment, there's a one-shot deal. And I don't want you to feel like you wish you had to take 2.
Mm-hmm.
When's good for us to meet? And I can share with you how you can avoid that situation. But so that's a quick take off of the 30-second commercial I've done with Gittimer. But
yeah.
Those are just ways to avoid the tire kickers, is just to throw the curveball, have a different question, because everyone's going to be responding with the quote, with a quote, with a quote, with a quote. Give them a range based upon your lowest offering to your highest offering. $200, we've done minister services for that. Yep. Maybe she doesn't know what she wants yet. So you may be able to help her in other ways, but at least you got your foot in the door versus everyone else who's just going to get slammed because they're getting the same exact response back, and low price wins.
Yeah.
And again, if you're the low price provider, yay.
Yeah, exactly. If your business plan is designed around that,
and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I want to say that there's nothing wrong with that. McDonald's works, and so does Ruth Chris. Depends on what you like.
Yeah.
So.
You do expect a little bit different outcome between a McDonald's. And,
and that's exactly it. You're going to ride a bicycle from your ceremony to reception. You're going to hire a limo. Mm-hmm. Two different outcomes. What do you want to have? Everyone's going to be high end on a couple things for their wedding day, and the other things are going to fall by the wayside they don't even care about, or they're not going to put money into. How important is entertainment to you? And it's a conversation thing. I think it's so important to make sure you keep having with the client, because once you lose the conversation, you've lost the sale. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. That should give some.
Did I answer any questions for someone at all? Or
I think so. I think so. That we hit that pretty well here. Chris was mentioning that having problems with the website. Just type it in, Chris, discjockeynews.com/holidays, plural, and that should get you there. So for some reason, typing or clicking and such from the website is just not. I don't know why it's not working. It should. Actually, I should put a link up to in the menu too. I'll have to work on that.
I can go to it from will that work on the phone? Yes.
Yeah. Yep. It should all be on the phone. Okay. It's all mobile friendly now.
Well, that's important.
Yeah, that it is.
Definitely.
We've got about another 10 minutes to give or take on that. You just returned from the Mobile Beat DJ cruise, and you go to different conventions. You've been to different inside. Yep, there it is. Yay. Inside and outside the DJ industry. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about your experience with your training and education, and as you have invested more into these areas, what have you seen for a return for yourself and your business?
Oh my gosh.
There's your loaded question for the night. You're welcome.
It is a loaded question. So I'm a conference junkie. I've attended many different conferences and spoke at many different conferences over the years as well. In fact, I just spoke at Meeting Planners International, their Great Lakes Education Summit this past about 3 weeks ago now. And it was amazing to hear one of my other speaker friends there and her keynote, the morning keynote, of where she believes conferences are going. And that's another complete topic.
Oh, that would be an interesting one.
Completely different topic. It's a great topic, but it's a completely different topic. What's been my ROI? I can say that since I really got serious about my business, and I would say that was probably around 2006 when I found DJA Radio Podcasts and Northern Disc Jockey Conference. In that time frame, 2006, 2007. So over the last 10 years, I went from having a DJ business that was very part-time, that back then I earned less than I pay myself now. I'll just say that. To a company now that does 6 figures every year in gross sales and does very well for itself in a small town of 12,000 people and done it for multiple years. So I've seen the educational investment of $1,500 for a conference or $1,000 for a workshop and, the flights and everything else. So 1,500 to $2,000 a pop, roughly ballpark. If I've invested, $2,000 in each one of those opportunities, and I take on average 2 to 3 a year, let's say 2.5 a year, I'm investing $5,000 to earn, 5 times that amount of what I used to earn every year for $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
That's a no-brainer at that point. Sure, you could sit here and say, well, why don't you just let your foot off the gas? You've made that investment. Why do you keep going back? Well, I keep going back for a couple reasons. And again, had that conversation with Mark Farrell today too, which is kind of funny. I keep going back because, number one, I am competitive. It's just who I am as a nature. I'm competitive. And I'm not going to let some other young punk come up and take my spot. And I'm going to keep pushing. And I want to keep learning and growing. And, I have friends that have multi-million-dollar companies, and I have friends that are much lesser, earning company than Tailored Weddings. I can learn from anybody. And I think that's the other thing. And so the knowledge shared at conferences, I'm going to bring this back around here where I was talking first.
Mm-hmm.
The knowledge shared at conferences is moving more so away from the speakers that are on stage. And it has been for years, don't get me wrong. But speakers, and this was the conversation topic at the Meeting Planners International, but speakers need to be more facilitators of the knowledge shared between people and not just a talking head at the front of the room. There's ways to do that. And actually, we have a plan to do some of that actually coming up at Midwest DJs Live 10, which I'm very excited about.
Very nice.
Looking forward to Midwest DJs Live. And so from that standpoint, by that investment of, $1,000, $2,000, it's paid itself back many times over. And frankly, for a show like Midwest, you don't even spending anywhere near that amount. I mean, a hotel room is like $110 for two nights. You split it with someone, you're only spending $110. You're out the door on $100 for that. Food is probably going to run you another $100. Pass another $100. Now whatever to get you there. So you're like $400 in. That's really small investment compared to what you'll get out of that for the show in a long run. So for anyone on the fence about any educational opportunity, it doesn't matter if it's Midwest DJs Live, if it's Mobile Beat Cruise, if it's Mobile Beat itself, if it's a workshop, if it's a entertainment experience, whatever it is, if you're on the fence about it, trust me when I tell you, it will pay for itself many times over. But you have to mind a little bit.
Hopefully it's coming for the drawing. And it's frozen still in the same spot.
Let it go.
I don't know why. YouTube is showing that we're still flowing and everything's going.
Yeah, Tom Heath just messaged me, said video is frozen. Hope it's not frozen in a really bad spot.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot. Or it'll just freeze and you're like...
Yeah, exactly. Or the when it grabs an image for the thumbnail. It's
yes.
like, oh, that's an appealing one. I'm like, no. Okay, so there we go. You guys are posting in there. The winner of our batch of swag that we'll be sending out later this week is Reese Lawrence from Reese's Karaoke and Dance. Now, I don't have a city or anything, but I think Reese is with us in the YouTube chat room. So congratulations, Reese. We'll need to get your information and such sent out.
Congrats, Reese.
So thank you much for registering. And again, Reese registered out at discjockeynews.com/holidays. And you have to type it in because the link's just not going. They've been playing with it and trying to figure it out. So yay. So we're going to go now. Mitch, give me a number between 1 and 20 here.
Between 1 and 20. How about 7?
Okay, we're going to stop it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Robin, Fly Robin is going to be our winner of our DJNTV hat, which I think Robin's on my list of getting one of those. So I'll have to see. There we go. Make sure that's right. So yes, we've got Robin. Thank you much for that,
Congrats,
Mitch.
Robin.
Yeah, Robin's one of our big DJNTV insiders and such. So yay, she's a big supporter. She's got really kind of a neat idea with building a booth. You guys should connect with Robin and check out her ideas. She was showing kind of the start of building a DJ booth, a portable booth, and it was pretty cool.
I'll check that out.
Kind of a DIY project there, which is always kind of cool.
Nice. Well, congratulations, Robin, and what's our other winner's name again?
And then Reese.
Reese, that's right. Robin and Reese, 2 R's.
So yep, those are our winners for this round. So
congrats.
Mitch, thank you very much for being on tonight. You had some great information, and I think I saw some people saying that this is their favorite one. I think it's because you had your